Hello everyone, today is Thursday, June 18th, and we're continuing with a little kind of series I'm going to do here on about with marriage. Yesterday I just did a kind of little intro in regards with the natural aspect, the bond of marriage, what makes the bond of marriage, and then started to get a little bit into the sacrament. We're going to get more into it about the sacrament. But today, I thought what I'd get into is actually kind of what leads to it. Leading to marriage is the whole aspect of someone discerning. Discerning, not only is this my vocation, which I think I mentioned also yesterday in regards with, naturally we're drawn to marriage. There's a beauty to it. It's the thing we're most familiar with because either we grow up with it, or maybe if someone didn't necessarily grow up with it, but if their parents weren't married or something, but they know many who are. And just, it's part of how God has, in a way, wired us. We're made for relationships, made for communion. And so marriage is one of that great, especially as a sacrament, great witness of that love that God calls us to in a very exclusive way. But it's not just for the couple, it's also for the good of society, and it's for the good of the church. And so that's why, as a sacrament, the graces God's giving, it's for the couple, but also so that they may serve the Lord and build up the kingdom of God. But to talk about kind of now the discernment, the discernment of that basic question, how does someone know if this person, the person they're dating, how does this guy know, or how does this woman know, this guy know that she's the right one, she's the one I should be marrying, or has the woman know this is the right guy for me? It's kind of a basic question, but there are some things in which God helps us to be able to discern that. And with it, obviously in a relationship, it begins with just natural attraction. A man is attracted to a woman is attracted to the man. That this often may begin with that physical attraction, or they may be attracted to certain things about their character. They maybe as they get to know someone, take younger people, someone in their class, someone in college, whatever, they end up meeting someone with a group and people are chatting, and then they just see how the other person kind of either speaks about something, or the joy they show, and the person just starts to realize, wow, that person's intriguing to me, or that person's beautiful, or whatever it may be. So there's that natural part that God kind of instills in us to help us to take that step forward towards pursuing dating. Now, dating, it's that aspect when people start dating, there's that dynamic that began attraction, and they're trying to get to know this person. They're trying to do things, find out what do they like, what's something that they want to do together, so that in something mutual that will be a joyful experience, they start to learn more about that person. And in time, they start to learn, especially if they're much younger, it takes a while for them to start to learn how to talk about things where they can start to actually show what they really think. Or even if they're not really sure what they think about certain things, especially younger people, well, now in their conversations, things start coming up. And so as they start talking about it, they start to learn more about this person, how this person does think about things. Do I think about things in the same way? A lot of times then they start to get influenced too, either good or ill, as to, in wanting to build that relationship, do I hold to the same things? And if I don't, part of that discernment is the courage to say what I actually hold to. And there's that, in a way, that gamble somebody takes, because when they start to really speak what they think about, how's the other person going to react to them? Is that person going to support them, or is that person going to laugh at them? Is the person going to become angry with them? And this is part of actually, ultimately, a couple they're discerning, do I want to remain in a relationship with this person? Do I want to go deeper in my relationship with this person? Or do I want to end this relationship with this person? And so that's part of the way in which God helps someone to discern. If a relationship is always kept at the superficial level, if a couple is never really willing to talk about deeper things, they will never have good discernment. And then really, a lot of times their relationship is going to be based on just fun experiences. And that as long as they're still having fun, then they keep staying in this relationship. But here's one of the core things, that for someone to start to discern, do I want to stay in this relationship? And then over time, is this the person I should be pursuing to go further in the relationship? Ultimately, is this the person that I'm being called to? If I sense I'm being called to marriage, that this is the person I should marry. One of the most basic things, and one of the most important things is, do they bring me and do I bring them closer to God? Are we helping each other to grow in virtue, in goodness? Ultimately, there's that aspect of faith that even you could have two people get married that have different faiths, but do we talk about faith together? Do we talk about our understanding of God and how God is at work? Do we lead each other closer to God? And so there is that faith element, but also lead each other close to God in the sense of just the virtue, the goodness. Do we help each other to grow, to become a better person? And it's not discerning of like, well, I want to be with this because they make me either feel better, or I love how they make me feel. I feel like a better person. That feeling can be a nice thing, but there are times in a relationship where you don't always feel something, but when you have discerned that we help each other grow in goodness, that's going beyond just how it makes me feel, that you can objectively see that we're good for each other. And that's that discernment is too, in a negative way, are we bad for each other? Do we lead each other to sin? Now, all of us are sinners. So even good couples who are discerning God's will, there still will be times of temptation. There will be still times where they will fall and sin. Hopefully never any grave sins, but that's possible. But if we almost like habitually lead each other to sin, that helps in discernment, in trying to be objective about it, that maybe this person is not the best person for me, or maybe I'm not the best person for them. And that's hard for someone to have to recognize that, but it's very important that they recognize it if that is present in the relationship. Here's an example. I know this one young man, when he was in college, he was dating this one girl, and she, at one point, they've been dating, I think, for a few months, and then she had said to him, I think it's time we start to have a sexual relationship. And he was secure enough in what he believed to be right and wrong. He was secure in his faith. And he had said, well, I don't think so, that belongs in marriage. And she kind of then tried to give him an ultimatum. She knew he liked her and stuff. So she said, well, if we're not going to have a sexual relationship, then we should stop dating. And he had that strength of character to be able to say, okay, all right, then the relationship's over. That she, for this situation, so she wanted their relationship to go really in a path of sin. And he at least had that strength, and it really is a trust in God, because I'm sure, he had feelings for her. They were dating. He really liked her. And it wasn't, they were a little more mature. They were older in college. But he had that strength to recognize, okay, this is a clear sign that this is not the right person for me. And, in a way, God made it much easier for him, even though it was painful to have to say, then we're going to have to break up. But in that negative way, that's one way of discerning, are we trying to help each other come closer to God? Trying to help each other grow in virtue, to help each other grow in goodness? Or are we bad for each other? I remember once I was preparing a couple for marriage. It's the only couple I ever told, I said, I don't think you should get married. Now, they were older. They were in their upper 20s, low 30s. And they were just adamant, it's just because we're so stressed out about the marriage. But when I would meet with them doing marriage prep, different discussions, This couple would start arguing right in front of me. Now, I have had couples argue, but usually that's couples that are coming in saying, they're married and they're having marriage struggles and stuff like that, and they're trying to figure out what direction they need to start to take their marriage to fix things. But this couple would argue in front of me. They'd swear at each other, and I'd be sitting there. Now, most people, at least in front of the priest, they try to pretend they're really good. Like, they try to put on a certain image, how happy they are. Not this couple. And so I just said, guys, I'm sorry. I like you both. I did. I like each one of them. I said, I think you're bad for each other. I don't think this is a good relationship. And they're like, oh, no, we're so stressed or whatever. No, because they have a right to marriage. I'm just trying to help them in their preparing for it. So they got married. Next thing I heard, that they, months later, were already looking for divorce. They got divorced, and then I know they pursued the question about having their marriage annulled, haven't studied whether it was valid in the first place. But so there's those negative signs that help in that discernment. Now, every couple's going to have times of bickering or little arguments, but if they work, that willingness to, okay, we got to work through this, and by working through it, they grow, and they grow in greater goodness, they grow in virtue. That also can be a sign. But also another aspect with it is, in trying to discern, do I pray about my relationship? Do I pray for the person I'm dating? Do I pray with that person if they're willing to pray? Because that's very important too, because knowing that, now obviously someone can open their heart over time, but if, say, someone is absolutely unwilling to ever pray or speak about God, well, do you want that for the rest of your life in marriage? Something that's at the core of really helping your love to grow, and the other's refusing it, okay, at least you got to accept there's going to be a real roadblock there. There's going to be a real challenge there in the relationship. It's not impossible, but it's going to make it difficult. So praying for them, praying with them, but also praying in that sense like, Lord, I need you to help me see. Because especially when the emotions are involved, there's a goodness to emotions, but also there's challenge with the emotions. But if there's an emotional attachment to the person you're dating, it is a little harder to act freely. It's hard to be objective as to, is this a good relationship or not? And that's why when that struggle's there, it's important to get feedback from others too, from friends, from family, who you don't care for that person, but can they be objective to say, listen, you guys have a great relationship. You're going through a challenge right now. Or they can say, listen, I'll be honest with you, I don't think this is a good relationship. And this is why. They have to be able to help you see objectively why they're concerned about what's there. So the discernment occurs through prayer. And in prayer, one has to also, this is kind of discernment of any vocation, listening in prayer, listening in the silence of the heart. When praying about your relationship, is there a peace about it? Does, even in prayer, a sense of a rightness about it? Or in prayer, that when I'm praying about relationship, if I'm sensing that it's not sitting well with me, I have to listen to that. Because it may be in which way God's trying to help me to see, as wonderful as this person is, this may not be the right person. I would just give you another example. I knew two young people in college who both, their faith was very strong, and they had gotten engaged. Though I'd say they're a little bit, maybe at times, too attached to each other, maybe too affectionate. A lot, sometimes, they kind of PDA, a lot of more PDA than people around them wanted to see. Not like over the top, but nonetheless, there's clearly a certain type of, not only attraction, but there was this emotional attachment. And so they got engaged, they were meeting with this priest, and he was starting to pick up that with the female, he started to realize there's something else here. And he felt he needed to talk with her. And what happened was, she was not as comfortable about their relationship. And part of it is too that God was actually stirring something in her where eventually she started to realize she was being called to give her life to the Lord as a religious. But so they had dated, a very nice couple, strong in their faith, the same, kind of same on the area of principles, things like that, both very virtuous people. But there's still that aspect of, because of vocation, she started to realize, and this priest had helped her realize, this was not what God was calling her to. so even though they were engaged, she had to end the relationship. And it ended up being best for both of them. Where eventually she did enter religious life, and he eventually got married. And for I understand, has a great family and happy marriage, things like that. So the discernment, there's that aspect of the dynamics about question about sin. There's a question about, do we lead each other closer to God? Do we help each other grow? But then even in that, there has to be that aspect within prayer. Is this, when I pray about it, is there a rightness about it? Am I really looking at areas not only where I'm in need of growth and conversion? Am I being objective too, that I realize, okay, the other's not perfect? When two people in a relationship, which happens a lot for young people, they think the other's the greatest thing that God has ever created, and yet they're not willing to really sometimes see the limitations, the imperfections, the annoyances, and how do we try to grow in the face of that? Whereas sometimes the temptation is, okay, I see that, I just want to ignore it because I just want to focus on the good things. Well, then the relationship's not going to grow and bear fruit the way it should. And so that discernment, that really is very important. And I think sometimes we can often overlook that. How do you help someone, or how, with younger people especially, how do you help them discern, is this the right person they should be dating? But they have to come to see it. You can't just, like a parent can never force and say, no, you're not dating. Unless it's really bad and the parent can see it and the other's just really kind of blind. Sometimes the parent has to step and say, no, listen, I'm putting my foot down. This is not good. But most of the time, it's that how do you lead them to help them to discern properly? So that discernment of the vocation. God really has to be at the center of it, in the heart of, for both of them, lead each other close to God, but also prayer and the sacraments. The other sacraments are crucial. Reconciliation, the Eucharist, those graces from the sacraments will really help someone to be able to discern if this is what God's calling them to, and is this the person that they really should be pursuing marriage with. So anyway, hopefully you find that helpful. It's just some practical little points to help people, the younger people especially, but also the older people who are looking to get married, help them to discern things properly. Hopefully you find that helpful, and then we'll continue with our discussions. Tomorrow we're going to celebrate in the church a solemnity, the Sacred Heart of Jesus, and then Saturday the memorial of the Immaculate Heart of Mary. So some 2 great days in the church tomorrow and Friday. Tomorrow is Friday and Saturday. And hopefully we'll continue going through many different aspects of married life, the vocation of marriage and things like that. So hope all of you have a great day. Thanks for joining me. Let's see who was here today. I see Robin was here, and Marie, Kathy Custy, Sarah Parker. Let's see, Maria Benavides. Well, good morning, Maria. My sister Andrea is here. And by the way, Andrea, I wasn't today. I'm drinking from the T'nT cup, one of the T'nT cups. And see who else was here. Shannon was here, and that's the one I see right now. I'm sure there's more of you. Hope all of you have a great day, and we'll see you later. God bless.